Hello everyone, the Nerdy Steve here, and today I want to talk about some of my favorite cards from Dominaria United that I'm excited to play in Standard. We have the full spoiler out, and I'm in the early access event. Thank you, Watsy, for that. This week, so I'll be playing a lot of Standard decks on Twitch in a couple of days. You should totally go over and follow my Twitch, so you're notified of that. But I wanted to go over some of the cards I'm excited to play around with and build. I don't know if they're all going to necessarily be good, but I think it's going to be a really, really cool, you know, standard rotation is always fun and always amazing, and this is going to be no exception because I think there are a lot of interesting opportunities for decks to, develop and come out, and I just wanted to go over some of my favorite cards and cards I'm looking forward to play with. So first, I have Attic Waste and the other Pain Lands. This is kind of a cop-out, because we know they're good, we know they're going to be good, and we know they're going to be amazing, but, I don't want to sleep on the fact that, you know what? These are good. They're going to help so many decks and have the mana be efficient and fluid, and it's just an incredible thing to have in Standard. These are probably the best duels we've had since the Shocklands, and it's also going to really make the aggressive strategies in these specific colors much more successful than they have been. Like, I'm really, really looking forward to Sulphurous Springs, which is the black-red one, and I'm going to talk about more about black-red cards, but I've been playing a lot of Rakdos lately, and having a land that, I don't have to, pathway and choose black or red. I could just have it produce both of that for the entire game is something I'm really, really, really excited about and looking forward to. And yeah. But let's go on to Leyline Binding, which I've talked about too. It's a 6-mana enchantment with flash, has domain, so it costs 1 less for each basic land type among lands you control, and when it enters the battlefield, it exiles non-land permanent until it leaves. This card I'm excited about because if there is a domain deck using the Streets of New Capenna Tri-lands, this will be an integral part of that deck and why that deck is so successful. Being able to remove any permanent from the battlefield for 1 white mana at instant speed is a really, really powerful effect. Now, we're going to have to see how consistent that will happen, and all that stuff, but I think Leyline Binding is going to set a really good foundation for that to be a thing that's going to happen hopefully very consistently, so I'm very, very excited. If there is a domain deck in Standard, and there might be, with, Gaia's Might and other aggressive creatures, this is going to be an integral part of it, and an integral reason why it's so successful. So, this is going to be really fun to brew with. Follow that, I have Electrostatic Infantry, which is a 1/2 creature for 2 mana. It has Trample, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And that's combined with Balmor, Battle Mage Captain, which is a 2 mana 1/3 for Izzet. It's flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain Trample until end of turn. And I'm going to even add something else onto that. Jaya Fiery Negotiator, which is a 4 mana Planeswalker for red, red, and 2. And Jaya does a lot, so I won't go into it. But I don't know if Jaya necessarily plays in this Spell Matters theme of Balmor and Electrostatic Infantry. We know we have Impulse and there are other cantrip effects in Standard, but this sets a really good skeleton for a very, very cheap prowess-like effect on all your creatures and a Spells Matter theme. And, there's just a Spells Matter, aggro deck that can come out very, very quickly. You cycle through your cards and you kill your opponent with these big trampling creatures that have evasion with flying, or this just gets permanent buffs too, unlike prowess that ends at the bonus goes away at end of turn. These +1/+1 counters stick on Electrostatic Infantry. And I think there is something here to play with, and that it can be very, very good. Again, will it? We don't know. But there is just a lot of potential for something like this going. Blood There's the red adversary from Midnight Haunt or Hunt, right? Where you can cast spells from your graveyard again. And that probably plays a well with with these cards, right? Because you can, play your cheap removal and your impulse draw, and when you get a lot of mana, you can cast your Blood Tithe your adversary, right? Recast all your instants and sorceries, pump up your board, and redraw cards. So I think there's a really nice skeleton here. Again, I don't know if Jaya will play well into that, but as a top end card that, creates among tokens with prowess and can do a bunch of stuff, it could find a spot. And so I'm very interested in exploring this. And then we have a Johnny Sleeper Agent, which is a very, very complicated card to explain. But again, a 4-mana Planeswalker. We've had a lot of those. And I don't know if we have a green-white aggro deck. I know there's might be potential with some of the Caparetti cards from Streets of New Capenna. And there's some token generators where, distributing 3+1/+1 counters on your cards might be, good enough. I'm a little hesitant to call this, like, absolutely amazing, right? But Planeswalkers are cards that, even if you think they're borderline, you just need the right format and right cards to make them really, really good. And a Johnny can fit into a lot of different shells. And I think a Johnny is going to be a really, really cool thing to play around with and see how well that goes. And then we have the Elder Dragon War, which is a saga with read ahead for 4 mana. So when you cast the Elder Dragon War, you can, immediately create a 4/4. Or if, you want to discard any number of cards and draw that many cards, you can immediately do that. Like if you're trying to find something that you really, really need for this specific moment. Or you can do it at the first chapter where it deals 2 damage to each creature and each opponent, right? This card does a lot of stuff, and I think it's very, very, very good. Now, the problem with this, or not necessarily a problem, is I don't know. I think you need a very specific, unlike maybe Fable of the Mirror Breaker, right? Which kind of goes into almost any deck that plays red. I think the Elder Dragon War really wants a more control-y red deck. But even then, that's maybe not true. Maybe, like, the potential to, be in an aggro deck that can, you can make it so that the 2 damage to each creature doesn't necessarily affect you if you can pump all your creatures up. Or you can just skip and read ahead and make a 4/4. But I think the ability to, have it as a mini board wipe that can then loot your hand and then create a 4/4 in a more controlling red deck is really, really good, and there's a lot of potential for that. And we'll have to see how the format goes, but this card really, really intrigues me. Again, we have to play with read ahead and the sagas to really, really see the versatility of it and how powerful they are, because we can only assume how good they are until we actually play it. But this card, I think, has potential to be really, really powerful. And, I brought up Kiki, the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which is the 3-mana saga from Kamigawa. And the reason is that card is probably the most powerful card in Standard, even after rotation, or specifically after rotation. And a lot of the decks we're building has to keep in mind how we're going to beat that. And Elder Dragon War, the stage 1, can kind of potentially compete with that and how it can kill the tokens and the saga itself. So that's a good thing for this card and in its favor. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to play around with it and see how that goes. And then we have the Archangel of Wrath, which is a 4-mana 3/4 flying lifelink angel, which is like pretty decent in and of itself. But it has kicker of black and or red, and for each time you kick it, it deals 2 damage to any target. So first things first, it's good against Fable. Obviously not early, but a card that can, in itself add a threat and remove 2/2/2s is something we really, really want, right? So I think in a Fable environment, if there's a good foundation for this card, it can really, really shine. Now, that being said, I don't know if there's enough support for like a really good Mardu red, black, white deck, but we can play around with it and see where that goes. But this card I'm really, really excited about. I think it's good, and I think like maybe in an angel theme. I know some angels are rotating out of standard, but we still have Giada. We still have, a couple other really powerful angels. And so, if you Giada on turn 2 and then this on turn 3, you have a lifelink 4/5, right? That's really, really good, even without the kicker. So I think like there's something we can play around with here that I'm excited to explore, and I think will be really, really good. And this card only gets better if the format turns into a more aggressive thing, because being able to, shoot stuff down is just incredible. And then I have Garna Bloodfist of Keld, which is kind of a card that I hope will be really, really good. So it's a 4/3 for 4 mana, and whenever another creature you control dies, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, Garnet deals 1 damage to each opponent. Now, anyone who knows me knows I love my Blood Artist Alchemy deck, right, with Oni Coal Anvil and draining our opponent. And this very much plays into my ideal playstyle. And I like the idea of being able to attack with your Oni Cult tokens and then sacrificing them to draw a card and drain the life. So, like, is that gonna be really, really good? I don't know. Like, Garnet in a deck with Braids and a lot of, Blood Tithe Harvester and Voldaren Epicure to get a lot of pings and stuff might be really, really good. I'm looking forward to play around with that, but this is a card I think I like. I think I like a lot, and I think will be good, or rather, I hope will be good, but I'm looking forward to, test that out. But speaking of cards that are good against Fable, the Raven Man is a 2/1 for 2 mana, and at the beginning of each end step, if a player discarded a card this turn, you create a 1/1 Blackbird creature token with flying, and this creature can't block, and it can also pay 4 mana to make your opponent discard a card. Now, we're gonna talk about how the Raven Man is gonna work really well with Liliana of the Veil. Liliana's really, really good. Probably gonna see a lot of standard play. Who knows? We'll see. I can't really say anything else about her that hasn't already been said. But Liliana with the Raven Man's really good, but the Raven Man's also good against Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It's good with blood tokens because you can more reliably discard cards during your opponent's turn to, create more bird tokens. So I think, like, again, will this be good? I don't know, but I think there's opportunity for it to be really good, and I think that's the fun part of the exploration. Again, I like to keep an open mind, and I rarely ever say things are going to be amazing and wonderful, because we don't know how the format's going to shape up, and it's going to take actual playing with these cards to see. But this card kind of excites me, and that's really, really cool. And then finally, I think my favorite card of this set, and I hope Sheoldred the Apocalypse is really, really good. But a 4 mana 4/5 with Death Touch, fine, wonderful. And whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Okay, whatever. But whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So, when your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Good against the second stage of Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Again, I'm bringing up Fable of the Mirror Breaker because you're going to want to have good cards that are good against that, even if it's like very, very marginal and minute. If you can punish your opponent's stage 2 loot to make them not want to loot or to take damage from looting, that's going to be great. But also, Sheoldred avoids a lot of the common removal that we can expect to see. It dodges a lot of red direct damage. It's a 4/5, so it's really, really hard to get destroyed by Blood Tithe Harvester. It doesn't die to cut down. It's gonna do a lot of things, and I think if there's a really good black based aggressive strategy, or like with maybe even Liliana to have board control, or black red with Blood Tithe Harvester, and like if you're gonna be able to play cards that your opponent has to deal with, and then you can drop Sheoldred after they've maybe wasted a lot of their removal, Shieldred can easily take over the game, because even if your opponent can block, they're taking damage. Even if, like, it's just a clock on the ground, and I think it's really, really, really good. And this is going to be... This is my favorite card of the set, and I hope Shieldred is really, really amazing. So, with all that being said, did I miss anything? I know I did I didn't talk about every single card that excited me. I talked about the most. But what cards are you looking forward to? There are a lot of really cool of the multicolor cards that I also didn't touch. I think the blue black Urtai Corrupted, right, has the potential to be really, really good. There are like some token makers in green and white, and a bunch of other gold cards that I'm looking forward to play with. So let me know what you like. If there are any decks that you think you'd want to see me play during the early access event or later on this week when it's released, let me know, because I'm going to be playing a lot of standard coming up. We're going to be making a lot more standard videos, and I'm really, really excited to get back to standard constructed content on this channel. So yeah, with all that being said, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the Dominaria release that happens this week, right? Bye.